23rd. If we could introduce ourselves, starting at this end, that would be great.
Thanks, Bridget Doherty, and I'm running the Zoom for the commission.
Jacqueline Paniotto, Clerk of the Board.
Alicia Reese, Vice President of the Commission.
County Commissioner Denise Dreehouse.
Jeff Ludo, County Administrator.
Thank you so much. And I am Stephanie Summerall Dumas, President of the Hamilton County Board of Commission. We will move forward, as we always do for these meetings, with a silent prayer and a pledge of allegiance. I ask that you just take a few minutes of silence. I personally will be taking a moment of silence for the Haitians that are being detained, retained, sent on planes and everything else. As we think of the silent prayer, I know we have many things that we all could think about as we have our silent prayer. Thank you. Amen. And now if you could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, I appreciate it.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of the previous session.
Second,
Commissioner Summer Dumas,
Yes,
Commissioner Reese,
yes.
Commissioner Dreehouse.
Yes,
thank you so much. And we have a special guest who is on Zoom. Welcome, our Mayor of Lincoln Heights, Ruby Kenzie Mumphrey, is here. We oftentimes go out to different communities to find out what's going on and what they want us to know as a commission. And so she has agreed to come and speak to us today on what's going on in Lincoln Heights. We'll wait a few minutes. There she is.
Yes. Hello, everyone. I just want to thank Commissioner Dreehouse, Commissioner Summerall Dumas, and Commissioner Reese for welcoming me, Ruby Kenzie Mumphrey, Mayor for the Village of Lincoln Heights. Thank you so much for having me join you all today. You asked me about what's going on in the Village of Lincoln Heights. We have upbeat momentum in the Village of Lincoln Heights. And then I just here today to talk about what's going on in the Village of Lincoln Heights. Well, there's so much going on. And actually, I took notes to make sure I don't miss anything. But what I'm here to let everybody know that we are excited about our future. Our history presents us with challenges, but we don't run from the challenges whatsoever. And so I'm here today to talk about the spirit of the village and the county and the state and the business community. We are moving forward with strong relationships with the county and our steering committee and engaging our residents. So much so that we are in the prime part of revitalizing Lincoln Heights through our housing opportunities that we have. As you all know, we have 100 lots in the Village of Lincoln Heights, and we're moving forward to innovate our community and become business friendly, welcoming all businesses and anyone that wants to steer our community into the right direction that we want. I'm here to let everybody know that due to the CARES Act, we were able to do some great things in the village. Because of having those necessary funds, we were able to install 50 sanitation stations. We were able to give out numerous PP supplies. We were able to do actually building improvements, touchless restrooms inside our community village hall. Also, we administered numerous thermostats throughout the community through our food pantries that we have there, as well as the community itself. We actually have a thermostat station. When you come into the village, you just press your head in. It gives you what your temperature is. So that was something that that upgraded our village hall when you come in. But one of the biggest things I want to talk about is receiving the $150,000 CARES Act money that we have that issue to help us with our Wi-Fi. So we're very excited about that, and we're just thankful for the Board of Commissioners office for helping us to improve the village of Lincoln Heights. I want to thank all three commissioners, Commissioner Dreehouse, when you came out as well. And we met earlier last year when it came to the shooting range. You came out, and I also wanted to thank Commissioner Summer Dumas when she got us talking about what we can do to move the shooting range, and then as well as Commissioner Dreehouse, her having that 513 relief bus, which they just recently came out the other day, and we had over 100 residents come out. Also, we had about over 12 to 15 residents that took part in the vaccination station. So we received that. And I think we had over 60 people that were able to get some type of relief through the 513 relief bus. So I'm just so thankful that as a part of the village and the Board of Commissioners office and our other partners, that the village is moving forward. So I thank you all for letting me come and talk about how wonderful the village of Lincoln Heights is moving forward and always is. It's a very prideful community, and we're just here to just work and do what needs to happen, and always invite others that want to help us. We're here. We're just a phone call away or email that if you would like to come out and engage in some conversations to move our village. We are building some houses out here as well through the Port Authority, and streets are getting done. We just recently improved and developed, reconstructed a couple of streets in Lincoln Heights, a total of 4. Our goal is to do at least 2 streets a year. And so we're taking part of the SORTA funds. We've applied for that, and we're looking forward to hear back to see how that's going to come along for us to finish a long segment of streets in Leggett and Wabash. So thank you for letting me come and speak.
Thank you so much for agreeing to do that. And it's exciting, all the things that are going on in Lincoln Heights. But before I make my comments, I'll open it up to Vice President Reese.
I just want to thank the mayor. I was with her on Tuesday with the 513 relief bus, and just want to thank her, the council, and a special shout out to the city manager, Ms. Powdrell, and my very good friend and councilwoman, Linda Childs Jeter. So keep up the good work. Looking forward to continue to work with you, Mayor.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Dreehouse.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Mayor, for being with us this afternoon. It's good to see you. You know, there are a few communities in Hamilton County that are really on the map right now, and Lincoln Heights is one of them. We've got so much going on in partnership with you relative to safety, to economic development, to promoting health in the community. And so it has been a privilege to work with you. And I also look forward to continuing that work with you and your team in Lincoln Heights.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. And Mayor, you're right. You guys have been on the map but for whatever reason, the funding didn't seem to make it to you guys, and it's doing that now. I know as village manager for 4 years, I said, this is a village diamond in the rough that people don't know about, the love for that community that the residents have. And so I initiated, I don't know if Mayor, if you were on the council or not, I initiated Lincoln Heights, a village with a vision. And we have all these flyers, all these banners that go through Lincoln Heights to let people know we have a vision. We're working on a vision, and we need some help from some outside people in addition to what we do. So you certainly are moving forward through your leadership. You guys are moving forward, and I'm just really proud to have some sort of connection with Lincoln Heights. So whatever I can do, whatever the board can do, we will continue to do for that village. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you both all three of you. We are so appreciative that the hard work that the village has been doing for the last 6, 7, 8 years. We're starting to see that, but we could not do it without the Hamilton County Commissioners. We want to thank you for that seed money of $5 million to try to move this shooting range. So we thank you for that. And just words cannot express how much the Board of Commissioners office, the support that you have given the village of Lincoln Heights. And we want to acknowledge that and thank you, all three of you, for the hard work that you are doing, not just for Lincoln Heights, but other communities as well. So thank you once again.
Thank you. And finally, as you bring up about the Lincoln Heights gun range, because you don't hear a lot publicly, don't think that things are not in the works in the background, and we will not settle until the gun range is gone out of Lincoln Heights. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, moving forward. We have public comments. I have one card. Nick Talbot. And you have 2 minutes. Thank you for coming.
Y'all gonna love this. City Council loves it. They couldn't believe it. I've been fighting for 3 years just to get the City Council to recognize the indigenous people that was here on this continent. They showed me a map. The Indians had mapped out a map from Canada all the way to South America. The map we got now, they mapped it out. That's why they knew about the railroad. That's why they were the ones that helped them make the railroad. The Underground Railroad, they knew about it. Guess what? I can go over to the historical society. They don't say nothing about it. And guess who they work with? The Masons. The Masons. The Masons and the Indians work hand in hand. They helped build it. The Indians would get up way up high and build some of these buildings because they could walk up there without ropes. They had good balance. So that's why I'm coming to you guys, because we got to revisit history. They didn't tell us. And this map that they give us, the continent is way bigger, way bigger. South America is huge, huge. You can't even fly across it, but they didn't tell us. So it's time we start, and our kids, they doing their homework. They ain't doing like us. They just accepted what we told them. Can you believe that? How do you leave that out of history? They was all the way from Canada, South America, North America. They left it out. They completely left them out. How do you do that? To me, I think that's cruel. It really is. And I had to go to them, and you could Google the map. And what I'm going to do is we're going to send you the map. We're going to send you the map so that you can show you, because I want to also take you how the Masons and the Indians work together. And one real quick, if I can get this in real quick, you can go down there to the Freedoms, down there to the train station, and look on the side. When you go up in there, you see the person of Mercury. You know why Mercury is there? Transportation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Right?
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Tolbert. And I suggest when you send that information, send additional information as it relates to how you want the county to help, how you would like for the county to help. Okay, thank you. And we have a comment on Zoom, I believe. Ms. Carrie Davis. Hello?
Hello?
Yes, I hear you now.
I'm sorry, I'm not tech savvy. The Solid Waste Committee, 3 members of the Solid Waste Committee stood up and sent a memo to all the other representatives on the committee regarding you all's power to oversee landfills and to make rules. And thank God they spoke up and they insisted it be put on the agenda last week. It was put on the agenda and they voted unanimously to move forward with my proposals. and I'm very grateful to them. One of the things they're doing is creating a subcommittee to propose rules to present to the Board of Commissioners to pass in Hamilton County. And I was disturbed yesterday when I got the information on who's on the subcommittee. And despite the county's initiative for diversity, the core committee has no Black people on it whatsoever. The subcommittee has not one Black person on it. There isn't even a Black person in the room at these meetings. They eliminated me, the only advocate who's been working on this issue and who represents disadvantaged populations. These landfills are frequently put in Black neighborhoods, and they have excluded two subgroups of the population, the Black community and the advocacy organizations, from this subcommittee. So they have no voice whatsoever about what rules are going to affect them. And but they have two members from the health department. One is fine, you don't need two. They have two members from the engineering department. One is fine, we do not need two. And both those spaces should be filled with an advocate and someone from the community who is a minority and impacted by this. And I'm asking today that you guys contact Brad Johnson and ask him to fix the subcommittee so it's more reflective of our community and the people who are being hardest hit by these issues.
Thank you, Ms. Davis, and I appreciate your concerns because, as you know, the board is very concerned and we advocate for inclusion in every aspect of county government. So two things I'd ask, well, one thing I'd like to ask, you said unanimously they agreed with your proposal. If you have the minutes of that meeting, that would be great. But in addition, we will look into, and Brad Johnson, you indicated, was a contact for this committee. We'll look into it and see exactly how we can make sure that the composition is appropriate for our county and reflective of the people that we serve. So I appreciate your comments.
I am really grateful for that response. And I do want to thank you all. The 513, I made a complaint about the 513 bus a couple weeks ago, and that young lady was on it. She was on it. The next day she was in touch with me. We connected her with a group of, in that same population I'm talking about, that's hard hit by everything. And she's already got them scheduled to be out there October 7th. And she's just an awesome worker in the community. So thank you for that also.
Oh, thank you. And that's great news to always hear that our people are out there. We know they're out there doing what they need to do, but can you maybe email me and give me the name of the person that you dealt with? Because we have so many awesome people in the community. Thank you so much for your input. Okay, we'll move forward on comments and motions. Vice President Reese.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. I do have some comments on some places that I've had a chance to go out and be at, and I wanted to give some recognition. One, I want to congratulate the Ensemble Theater. They had an opening show last night. I want to thank Shannon Lutz for inviting us, and Lynn Myers. It was an awesome play that they have, and it's running now. And they were checking people's vaccination cards and people in masks, but also it was great to see us back with the arts. And so I encourage people, if they can, to support the arts. We always have great plays and talent that comes here. We're one of the top in the Midwest of all of the arts facilities that we have, and the types of plays that we bring, types of talent that we bring here to Hamilton County. And they have protocols in place with the vaccination card and the mask. But at the same time, you get to enjoy a lot of the art and entertainment. And certainly I was happy to get back out and be able to enjoy that, because sometimes it's really tough, and it helps me mentally to be able to enjoy the arts. And then they also be able to have folks who are in the arts be able to get paid. I mean, these folks have been out and haven't been able, a lot of people who are in the arts, people don't understand, when you don't have a show, your check stops. It's not like us. We don't get the, every 2 weeks, or some other people that are on maybe a working job. They don't get the health care, they don't get the money. And so in many ways, our artists are small business people too. And so I was happy to see them working. I think the play, they said, was supposed to, they've been here for several months and unable to actually perform. So I do want to give a shout out to all of the arts. All of us, we mentioned before, we were at the opening of the ballet, new facility. Again, the arts folks are able to get back to work, and we're able to enjoy the arts as well. Also wanted to, the last caller talked about the 513 relief bus. And I just want to say that I am proud of the work of the 513 relief bus. Our goal is to take the resources directly to the people. And the feedback that we've been getting from people is like, wow, thanks for coming. It's convenient. We're able to holistically tell you what we have available. We're able to help you with your application. I want to be, really clear. I've been getting feedback, and some folks have said, the application is not the easiest application. We make it sound like, oh, just go online. Going online is difficult for a lot of people to fill out these applications. So it's been very helpful to have Jobs and Family Services there to answer questions. So they're able to fill out the application there. They're able to answer questions. One of the things in this committee, we had a testimony maybe a month ago, and Jobs and Family Service testified. They made a presentation, and I want to thank Madam President for having them to make the presentation. In the presentation, during the presentation, it was said that, well, maybe that, we might have more money than we need. And I said, that don't sound right, because I'm out here with the people and I hear a lot of people got needs. So maybe we got to do a better job of connecting. The other thing that was testified was the zip codes. And when you looked at the zip codes, 45211, we did excellent. But when you get into these other communities, when you got into African-American communities, they were getting declined. We only had 42% that were approved. That meant over 50% were being declined. And I said, well, why are they being declined? And we found that one of the issues was paperwork. They would come and then we'd send them back, go to the library and get a scanner, go to the library and get on the computer. These people out here trying to survive. It's tough. You got to take care of the kids. You got to get school. You got to do all this. Now you're sending me to the library. I just used gas, or I used my bus card to get here. So we changed that, and we started educating people to bring your bills with you. Bring the bills with you, and Jobs and Family Services that can walk you through what's eligible, what's not eligible. Amy Story, who is here today, who leads our technology, she's our interim director, but she led the technology area. She said, listen, we can take pictures with the phone now. We don't have to do a scanner. So we started cutting down those barriers. And last week in Bond Hill, the bus had a stop in Bond Hill, and we were supposed to start at 11 a.m. And what we showed was that the myth is wrong. People do need help. 8 a.m. people were lined up at the Bond Hill Recreation Center at 8 a.m. And we're not even supposed to start till 11 to get help. We had lines of people to get rental assistance, lines of people to get utility assistance, lines of people to get the shot. Some people were in line and said, well, while I'm here, let me go ahead and get the shot. So the bus is selling convenience, it's selling accessibility, it is also bringing resources to the community by building relationships. And so a lot of people are asking for the bus. And I just want to, say we're in a time now that if you can't do it with this, you can't do it. Many people don't have computers, but if you can do it with this, we can do some business. And this is where the world is going. So I just want to give a shout out to all the people that work the 513 relief bus. And I want to publicly say there were some that said, well, maybe we should cut the bus down. We can't, if the demand is there, we need to cut the bus up. We need more buses because it's working. People are able to come out, be convenient, get the help, get the vaccine. And I want to say Bond Hill has been our largest turnout, over 500 people for different services. We had CAA, some people were there for CAA, some people were there for ours, Jobs and Family Services. Free Store Food Bank was there, gave over 200 boxes of food. So the question, do people still need food? The answer is yes. We ran out of boxes to give people. I want to give a Free Store shout out. United Way was there to try to help us as well. And I'm very proud of the work that the 513 Relief Bus is doing. I want to give a shout out to our health commissioner and our health department, because those are the nurses now that are out there and they want to be out there to help people. We went to Lincoln Heights on Tuesday, which was mentioned, turned a basketball where the kids play basketball, turned that into, we popped up with the 513 Relief Bus, and over 150 people were helped that day. So it's working. We're in Norwood today. So those are watching us, you can get to Norwood Middle School today. We'll be there till 4 o'clock. Some people will be there till 4 o'clock and they can get those services as well. And as always, go to 513relief.org. Bridget will make me say that, to get everything that we have available. So thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Commissioner Dreehouse.
Thank you, Madam President. I just have a couple things. One of them is a by leave. It's by leave number 5. And this is a resolution that I brought forward a couple weeks ago, I think it was. The resolution supporting local efforts to resettle Afghan refugees and declaring Hamilton County as a welcoming community. And so we were not ready to vote on it at that time, but I asked the other offices for input related to the resolution. And remember, Compass was here along with Catholic Charities to talk about the need for this kind of resolution, because we've got, as I think it was reported yesterday, 50 evacuees from Afghanistan coming into our community now. They've been designated for Hamilton County. And so the idea is to make sure that not only do those evacuees, but the rest of the community understand that Hamilton County wants to be a welcoming community when it comes to the evacuees, particularly coming from Afghanistan at this really critical time. And so that was the reason for the resolution. There was some comment about broadening some of the language. And so we've added 2 whereas clauses to the resolution. I'm happy to read them out and then speak just a little bit further. Also, just a note, we've got someone on Zoom from Catholic Charities. He's the COO, is Patrick Reynolds Berry, in case there are any questions related to the content of the resolution. So the 2 whereas clauses that were added after some input from the other 2 offices are, whereas the county supports immigration policies, laws, and regulations that center the humanity and dignity of each individual and family arriving at our borders. And whereas the county, in light of the humanitarian crisis on the southern border and recent violence against Haitian women, men, and children seeking asylum within the United States, recognizes the lawful right of every individual who seeks asylum to be granted a safe, fair, and transparent process for seeking asylum. And then it goes on to talk about the refugees that we're getting right now from Afghanistan. So that is the resolution. I appreciate the input from the other 2 offices. I also want to thank my staff, Gina Marsh and Fatima Ba, for both working on this resolution. And so with that, I don't know if there are any questions related to it, but Patrick Reynolds Berry is on the line to answer any specific questions that you might have related to the resolution.
Thank you. I have a couple comments. I appreciate the flexibility of the department to your office to add in some additional information as it relates to the Haitian immigrants. I would suggest that we, if you're in agreement, to table this resolution until we're able to actually include the Haitian immigrants in the title of the resolution, because oftentimes I've found that people, you put it inside of the resolution, but who's going to go all through the middle to hear about the Haitians? I think it's not timely right now to pass it without putting the Haitian immigrants or the Haitian refugees in the title, so people will know that with all of this going on down at the border, that we recognize that there are other refugees or immigrants, however you want to call it, that need assistance. In addition, we can't just ignore, and we did not ignore because your office did include it, but I'd like to have it included in the title so it's clear that this commission did not just forget about what's going on now. I'm feeling some sort of way about this down on the border and the whips being used and bringing back, historical issues as it relates to slavery and things like that. And other refugees and immigrants are welcomed in and given a place to stay, given shelter, given food. And you see the Haitians going across the river. I wasn't going to go there, but I am going across the river to Mexico, trying to get food and supplies for the people that are there. And even the Mexicans are volunteering to help to bring food over. Where's the food? Where's the shelter? Rather than just loading everybody else and not screening those people to see even if they should be here. And the majority of them, from what I've heard, are not even from Haiti. They've lived in other countries or other locations, and we're just loading them up and sending them back to Haiti. I'm not happy about it. And I am glad that we're welcoming these Afghan refugees. My understanding, I researched it a little more. There are 855 Afghan refugees coming to Ohio, and I think you said 50 were coming here. Thought it was a little more, like 75. That's neither here nor there. So they are already being welcomed. They're already coming if they're not already here. So it's not like we're not welcoming them. And I can go with the resolution if we are in agreement that we can add something on the title that will indicate that we did not forget about the other people that are suffering and trying to get into America. It says you bring you're tired and you're hopeless or something to that extent. And I don't think we're doing that. Give your, let's see, give your, the liberty, Statue of Liberty says, give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses, yearning to breathe free. The wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Teeming means abundant shore. So we're not doing that. And we're not here to solve all the problems of the Afghans or anybody else. But if we're aware, if we know better, we do better. And I think that inclusion was great. But I'm going to end it by saying I'd like to see the title to indicate what we're doing for the other refugees. Vice President Reese.
Can I just respond just
Sure, uh-huh.
related to that suggestion? So I think the impetus for this, again, I brought this forward a couple of weeks ago when the Afghan situation was forefront and we weren't ready to pass it then. So that was the reason for the emphasis. The refugees are coming from Afghanistan. From my understanding, what's happening at the border, and I agree that when you see those images, it's very disturbing, and the trauma that's being created right now is terrible. But the refugees that are coming to our community right now are the Afghanistan refugees. The Haitian refugees, as you mentioned, are actually being turned away and sent back. And so that I understand the idea is to make sure we're welcoming all refugees, and I would agree with that. And remember, we had talked about, and Brian Wright suggested this, that we form a commission to talk about how we do as a community and as a county when it comes to not only folks coming to our community, but folks that are already here that are immigrants from a variety of countries, and maybe trying to get some recommendations from a group like that so that we can make sure that we're kind of putting our money where our mouth is when it comes to being a welcoming community. So that's, I'm happy to introduce something like that in the future. In fact, I intend to do that. But when Brian Wright and Compass brought this forward, it was relative to the Afghan situation. And that's why the language is what it is.
If I could just for a second, Vice President Reese, and I remember when you presented it, but it wasn't actually presented. It was given to us in a kind of, in a different way. So it was never presented to the commission. So I want to make it clear, we didn't sit on it. We just got the information, we're not prepared to even address it. So right now, I think when we look at the incident that has occurred in the last since you gave it to us, I think we need to adjust and make some changes. And you did, as I was saying, but we just need to be inclusive. Vice President Reese.
Madam President, I would agree with your action today. I'll be honest, I didn't get the language till a few minutes when I came in. And maybe that's because I'm out trying to help the people here who don't have housing and don't have food and can't get rental assistance. 4,000 people haven't been returned calls, I'm told, from CAA, who's waiting right now. We've been on phones with people who've been crying because they're about to lose their own home. And I've been working really hard to make Hamilton County more welcoming for the people that are right here first. Now, with the resolution, unfortunately, we're not Congress. If I was in Congress, then we would have I would have to be probably doing a little different because I would have some power in Congress to do something. But I haven't had a chance to look at a resolution that does not allow us to do anything. I hope that Hamilton County should be welcoming. My understanding, I agree with you that they are coming. They don't have to ask our permission to come. We did have a testimony that Jobs and Family Services and the Health Department is already working with the Catholic Charities. I don't know if we give them money. I've got to check to see if we even give them money as well. But they're working with them as we speak. And they were complimented in the presentation of the work that our county employees, Jobs and Family Services are doing. And so I will have to, I guess I don't know if I'll apologize, maybe I won't. I haven't had time to look at this resolution. When I hear 4,000 people right now have not gotten a phone call back, can't pay the gas and electric, getting ready to be thrown out, getting ready the lights to be cut out. When I'm out in Bond Hill, we couldn't get through. We had over 200 some people we couldn't even get through. They're calling today saying, hey, I can't take it. Please call me back. I want to see some urgency with that versus resolutions that are not within our own power. Now, I'm in Congress. It's a different ballgame. But we're here in the Hamilton County Commission, and I think we're all trying to get this money out to the streets because there's so many people, middle-class people, who you said their jobs, there's not many jobs out here. It's a lot of hamburger jobs, but there's no jobs out here. And so that's the stuff that I have been focused on. Now, I got 2 paragraphs before I walked in here. Before that, I got a call yesterday from my chief of staff. I told him, if it doesn't have Haiti, I don't want to talk about it. Haiti and Afghan got to be together. I agree with President Dumas. Last time we talked about this, you were first to say it. What about Haiti? So it's plenty of time to have it, but this is the type of inclusion we talk about. You know, we talk about it. Inclusion, and maybe I don't like the word inclusion. I like the word partnership, because inclusion is an afterthought, like it is here, 2 little paragraphs, and then say, well, this is about the other people. It's not about Haiti. If it ain't got Haiti in the title, I don't want to hear about it, because this is a resolution we can't do nothing with anyway. All we can do is once you get here and you have gotten all the everything that you're supposed to have, you open to the services that we have here. They don't need a resolution. So I might have a different opinion. I get emotional about these things because, yes, when I see Haiti, I don't see it just, oh my God, it's some image. This stuff is real. This is real. This is touching. This is hurtful. This shouldn't happen. It's emotional. It's not a resolution. This is kids, these babies, senior citizens. This ain't no resolution. So I don't want to play a game with this kind of stuff. And I'm not trying to accuse anybody of anything, but I'm just saying, when you come to me, bring something real. I like to do things that we have control over. We're welcoming. We already said we're welcoming. Jobs and Family Services already working with people that are coming. Already the Health Department, our commissioner was complimented. He's working with people that are coming. And so I'm willing to, in a compromised way, support a resolution that I already feel doesn't do much, but I'll support it if we go back and get the right language, and maybe you could work with President Dumas's office to get the right title, the right language, and bring some back, and I'll be willing to go with it. But today, I will not support this today as is. A commission down the road, maybe, but I think our top priority is these 4,000 people right now who are Hamilton County residents who can't get a phone call back. These 200 plus people that came out to Bond Hill that can't get a call back yet. The people that are crying right here who lights getting ready to be cut out. but I'm willing to entertain a resolution and support it with a title change or what have you. And maybe you and President Dumas' office can work together on it, and I will support it.
May I comment,
you.
please, Madam
Uh-huh,
President?
sure.
So with all due respect, we have been working with the other two offices for a couple of weeks now since this was introduced. So I don't want it to appear as though it was was offered in a vacuum and then no conversation has happened since then. A part of that, the conversations resulted in the added language. So I just want to be clear on that point. Also, I was asked to do this by Compass, an organization in this community that welcomes immigrants and works with immigrants that come to our community. They make sure that they feel welcome, that they're introduced to other individuals in the community. So I don't view this resolution as an either or situation where we can't, as we have been doing, help those in need in this community related especially to COVID and, ongoing needs in the community. I see this as an and conversation, not an or conversation. As you say, Commissioner, this is something that puts us on the map as saying that we are a welcoming community. Other communities have done it. Franklin County did it. Summit County did it. Dayton did it. And so it's a way to express our posture when it comes to welcoming these folks into our community. That's all it is. And so if we need to work on additional language changes, I'm open to that. But I will, the time is now, especially with the Afghan refugees, to act on something like this. So I'm hopeful that we can continue the conversation between the chiefs of staff and then have something in front of us on Tuesday for a vote, because I would hate to wait yet another week to have something on the legislative agenda. So we will continue the work and hope to bring something forward on Tuesday.
Madam
Thank you.
President.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I just got to clear up. I can't speak for everybody's office. I can't speak for mine. We have a report that's due every time. My office, which we only get two, I have to just say all of our offices, we only get two people. My office has been full-time on getting relief to the people here. So I don't know, they wouldn't be working 2 weeks on a resolution. I wouldn't even allow them to work 2 weeks on a resolution like this. And I did ask about the language yesterday. And at that time, Haiti was not included. I came in today on my way walking in here, and all of a sudden we had these two paragraphs. So I can't speak for all office, and I know you weren't trying to speak for mine, but I just want to be clear as it relates to my office. Both of my people have been assigned full-time, answering calls, trying to get relief out there. And this is what I received today. So I didn't get a chance to read it, these last two paragraphs. But even with the two paragraphs, I agree with President Dumas. It needs to be a part of it and not just, two paragraphs. So looking forward to the new language.
Thank you. Couple comments. It's a fallacy to say we've had this for 2 weeks because we haven't. I know when Compass came in, they said, you need to pass the resolution. You need to pass the resolution. And I immediately said, we don't have a resolution before us. I had no idea when it was coming before us. And secondly, the other municipalities have decided to do this. I'm not sure what their level of diversity is on their commission or their boards or their council, but sometimes we don't do things because we don't think about things. As you can see, there are two African Americans up here. And so we're thinking even more about the Haitians. Could be my relatives down there, I don't know. But we can't just say because the other municipalities have done it, we need to do it. We do a lot of things that the other counties don't do. So I'm missing also the urgency of this resolution. And hate to go back to what Vice President Reese said. Yeah, we have so many things that are urgent, and the refugees are already here. They're already being settled. I'm not against doing it, but I don't understand the demand and trying to push it down our throats to do this thing when it's already happened. And as you were saying, Vice President Reese, we don't really have any power as it relates to this. The governor has already said it. So it's not an issue that's at the top of my list. We welcome people that come in. I've said that earlier, but I don't understand why we're spending all this time talking about this resolution with all the other issues that are going on in this county. So from the chair, Commissioner Driehaus, I would give you the opportunity to table this resolution if you'd like, rather than us voting on it at this time, if you'd like to do that.
as indicated, I'm happy to continue to work on this and bring it forward on Tuesday.
I make a motion to table this until till a time certain. I'm not sure if it's Tuesday or not. We'll make it Thursday.
Second.
Commissioner Summer Dumas?
Yes,
Commissioner Reese?
Yes.
Commissioner Dreehouse?
Yes.
thank you. Let's move forward. Jeff.
Can I finish my comments? I have other things.
Oh, okay. I didn't know you had other things. Okay.
Okay, so I wanted to announce that the county is being honored tomorrow by the NACO Performance Development Academy. It's their Excellence for High Performance Leadership Award. It's the first time they're honoring any counties, and there are only 3 counties in all of Ohio, the 88, that are being recognized, and Hamilton County is one of them. And so I want to congratulate Jeff and Holly and the team for the recognition that you're going to get at the award ceremony tomorrow. Kudos to you and the staff for leading the way, I think, as always, in Ohio. And then one other announcement related to tomorrow. The One Stop Shop is, it's a monthly way for us, especially through reentry in the Addiction Response Coalition, to reach out to people that need to be connected with services in the community, especially those going through reentry. And so usually the One Stop Shop is from 10 to 1 over at the Justice Center. This month, we're moving it over to the Convention Center. And so they will be in a room at the Convention Center tomorrow from 10 to 1. My understanding is because of the location change, there are far more vendors and agencies that are able to help that can get into that space. And so I just wanted to put that on folks' radars. One Stop Shop tomorrow, 10 to 1 at the Convention Center. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a couple comments. I had a Zoom call with a Kroger representative who's in charge of communications and marketing for the Dayton and Cincinnati area. It was a very good conversation, and she wants Kroger's to be even more involved as it relates. I'm echoing a little bit. She wants us to be more involved with her partnership collaboration we talked about, and we'll be talking more about next month. October is Domestic Violence Month, and we'll be doing some things on that, but she really wants to be involved with that also. We'll talk more about that. As it relates to the High Profile Leadership Award, my Chief of Staff, Bishop Hilton, will be going up for an award, and I also will be going up. I thought they told me I was the first one in Hamilton County to do it, so maybe that's not true, but I'm really proud of what we've done as a team to try to work better with other entities and staff and agencies, and it's a very good program. If you can be involved, I would just recommend that you do that. It's only about, I think, about 8 weeks, so I'll be going up for that also. Jeff Aludo, County Administrator.
Thank you, Madam President. Just a couple of comments and then some by leaves on your agenda. So 2 things, both related to EMA. So just wanted to mention to the board as a follow-up, Nick Crosley was here a couple of weeks ago talking about emergency preparedness. And one of the things that he had mentioned when he was here at the time was the holding of an exercise at the Regional Operations Center to essentially stress test the emergency preparedness system. So Nick did pull that together, and that was this past Friday at the Regional Operations Center. He pulled in first responders from all over the community to help with that, to simulate a mock disaster and how the community would go about responding to it. I participated in that along with Holly, John Brugan, some of the other senior leadership team and department heads that would typically be responsible and responsive to a disaster in the community. And again, just kudos to Nick and his team for exercising those plans. You never know what you're going to do in an emergency like that until you actually exercise it. So Nick and his team did a great job pulling that together and dovetailing into the program that they have coming up this coming Wednesday up at the Sharonville Convention Center. And that's the Partners for Preparedness program, where they're going to be working in a workshop setting with all of local communities in Hamilton County to determine to help understand whether all communities are as prepared to handle these types of disasters in the community. So just a little bit of a shout out to Nick and his team for the great work they're doing there. Secondly, just in answer or in response to Vice President Reese had indicated some things as it relates to emergency rental assistance and how we're performing in that regard. So we are taking a strong look at the things that have been mentioned in terms of zip codes and rental housing, as well as our rates of denials, and making sure that we are cross-referencing those with areas in the community, ethnicity, things of that nature. So I'll be getting the board a report on that hopefully in the next couple of days, just on updated numbers in that regard, because that had been mentioned recently in the past. So that is my comments. I do have a few by leaves for the board in your packet. We've already been through one by leave. By leave number one, though, commissioners, in your packet actually relates directly to that issue of rental assistance. And this is a by leave. As the board knows, we've received several tranches of rental assistance. We've received rental assistance through the CARES Act. We received a tranche called Emergency Rental Assistance Program 1 from the federal government. We've also received Emergency Rental Assistance Program 2. Emergency Rental Assistance 1 is approximately $15.3 million. 2 is actually more than that, roughly 20. We know that the Treasury Department has said, and the federal government has said, that they expect communities to be substantively through their allocation of emergency rental assistance 1, and to have obligated a lot of those dollars by the end of September. Now, they haven't been real clear with how much they expect to be obligated. They haven't been real clear about what obligated means. What they have been clear about is that they reserve the right to approach communities and claw back monies that haven't been obligated and distribute those to communities that have obligated those funds. So Hamilton County, we are currently doing pretty well on emergency rental assistance 1. We're close to 7 million now out of the 15.3, which some of the folks who are assessing this think that that's probably about where Treasury would expect us to be. But the by leave in your packet, commissioners, just does it takes a conservative approach to this. And whereas we have already encumbered these dollars through our JFS rental assistance program, this is an action of the Board of County Commissioners to formally, using Treasury's words, obligate these funds to the emergency rental assistance program of Job and Family Services, just to ensure that we pass any sort of audit test that would come with the potential to claw back these dollars. So that's by leave number 1 in your packet, commissioners, is just to make sure that the board has taken action to formally obligate the dollars to Job and Family Services. The administration recommends approval.
Thank you. I'll open it up for any discussion. Vice President Reese.
Yeah, just for the people who are watching, I want to make sure we have a clear understanding. You're saying $15 million, but total, how many dollars? Is it 60 million total that we have?
For the count for Hamilton County,
Hamilton
our
County.
organization,
Our organization.
it's 15.3 in emergency rental assistance 1 and 20.8, I believe, in emergency rental assistance 2. So roughly 35 million. And out of the 15 right now, we are spending only against that ERA 1 right now, just to make sure we get those dollars out to it, recognizing that the federal government has set that end of September deadline on obligating funds.
Gotcha. So the other 20 million we haven't gotten to yet. And then you mentioned a clawback clause, which is one of the biggest things. And just one is for people watching. Clawback, we don't want to send money back to the federal government because we know people actually need help. And that's what you mean by clawback, right?
And that's what we want to prevent. Correct. Yes, that's exactly right. We don't want the federal government to be able to come in and take dollars that we know can be used here and spread them around to other communities. Correct.
And then we say rental, but it also includes gas and electric and water bill, right?
Your rental and utility assistance. Correct.
Got it. Okay. I just wanted people watching to just keep up with, because it's a lot of money, and they'll say, I thought you said we had this much and now you only got 15 million. So this helps us make sure that this money doesn't run back to Washington. It stays here to help the people in Hamilton County. So thank you.
Correct.
I support it.
Thank you. Commissioner Dreehouse.
Yeah, I just want to take this opportunity because Amy Story's in the room to thank JFS for your great deal of partnership on this one to push those dollars out as quickly as possible for the rental assistance program.
Thank you. Thank you, Amy, also. I'd like to make a motion to adopt by leave one.
Second,
Commissioner Summer Dumas.
Yes,
Commissioner Reese.
yes.
Commissioner Dreehouse.
Yes.
thank you.
Madam President?
Yes.
Can I also point a clarification? Jeff, can you also, people who are homeowners, we're running into a lot of people that own homes and say they want their gas and electric bill, and we don't have that up yet. Can you give a time when that will be available?
Yeah, so we were looking to we have our ARP, American Rescue Plan program for the county included $5 million for mortgage assistance as well, which would include the utilities, et cetera, associated with for homeowners. And we are looking to start that program in October.
Thank you.
Thank you. By leave two.
Madam President, I think you were going to take by
yeah,
leave two, correct?
I'll leave
Okay.
that one, yeah. By leave two is a resolution appointing one member to the Board of Cincinnati Development Authority, better known as the Port Authority. We have Angelita Jones, who we are recommending. If you look at her application and some things that were not even included in the application, from what I've heard, a vast experience in the community. And this is a board that's not really easy to get on. They don't change very often, but it was thought, I thought that it would be good to have someone who has not been on the board, but that also has experience to bring some different experience, different approach. I mean, how would it be if all three of us thought the same? It would be, we only need one of us. So I would suggest and recommend that Angelita Jones come on to the Board of Greater Cincinnati Development Authority, and I'll open it up for any discussion. Vice President Reese.
Yes, Madam President, I support wholeheartedly Angelita Moreno Jones, who is a businesswoman, has owned a business for 40 years in downtown Cincinnati. She's been on the Greater Cincinnati Chamber Board. She's won several awards from the Greater Cincinnati Chamber, also been involved with the African American Chamber, heavily involved with her church, Union Baptist, and the cemetery, and trying to help get that back on track. She's also part of the Hispanic Chamber. She's African American and Hispanic. And I think she brings a wealth of experience, been on a number of boards, but also connected to the community as well. And so I think her business acumen, her track record, mindset, collaboration, and being able to bridge the gap in many different rooms from a business perspective to a community perspective to understanding development will bring, I think, strength and added strength to the Port Authority. I'm excited to support her. And if I'm not mistaken, at least we look back 13 years, I think she might be the first African-American woman, at least the first African-American and Latina woman to be on this board. And I'm happy to support Angelita Moreno Jones.
Thank you. Commissioner Dreehouse.
Thank you, Madam President. I too have worked with Angelita Jones, especially related to the cemetery over on the west side, the Union Baptist Cemetery, with Sherrod Brown's office, and have been delighted to partner with her. She's a good person. She definitely has been involved in the community, and she's got a lot of connections. So I'll happily support this. I do want to say thank you to Sister Sally Duffy, who is the person that is going to be rolling off of the Port Authority. Sally, too, was very dedicated to the community piece of community development as one of the founders of Price Hill Will. And so I think we should thank her for her service. I think she was on 5 years and really took that role seriously and provided a nice community voice when the port was dealing with a lot of major issues during her tenure. So thank you to Sister Sally Duffy for being willing to serve.
Thank you. And I also thank Sister Sally Duffy, and you can always put in again. So those who want to be on a board, don't think because you're not on it currently that you can't reapply, because people certainly can do that. So, but this is evidence of the board trying to expand what we do as it relates to boards and commissions. Boards and commissions are extremely important. And so be looking forward to even more changes. I know foundation we always have to have, but to bring some people in on other commissions is what we're here for. So I'd like to make a motion to adopt by leave two.
Second.
Summer Dumas.
Yes,
Commissioner Reese.
Yes.
Commissioner Dreehouse.
Yes.
thank you. By leave three.
Thank you, Commissioners. By leave three is related to bid package number one for what will be the Findlay Market Garage project. This relates to utility relocation for the footprint site of the project in the Findlay Market area. We are on target to close on the respective property late September, early October, and this will allow for the seamless initiation of our utility relocation project along with that project. So the administration recommends approval. Phil Beck is here if there's any specific questions about that particular bid package and project.
Thank you so much, Jeff. And I see Phil is here. I'm not sure if there are any questions or comments. I know I've had a thorough review from you and also from Jeff. So I will open it up though for Vice President Reese if you have any questions or comments.
No, I don't have any questions at this time.
Commissioner Dreehouse.
No question.
Okay. All right, very good. So I'd like to make a motion to adopt by leave three.
Second.
Commissioner Summer Dumas.
Yes,
Commissioner Reese.
Yes.
Commissioner Dreehouse.
Yes.
thank you. By leave four.
Thank you, Madam President. So by leave number four, recognizing that we have the pending retirement of Clerk Paniotto, that this board needs to take some action to make sure that the activities of the clerk continue on after Ms. Paniotto's retirement. This resolution will appoint Ms. Leslie Hervey as the interim county clerk, and it sets and appropriates compensation appropriately for that role. The administration recommends approval.
Thank you. And you said that sort of fast as it relates to the impending retirement of Jackie Paniotto. So people that are watching, they probably are watching just to see Jackie. So they're like, what? So anyway, I just didn't want to kind of fly over that.
Madam President, I'm hoping if I just don't say it, that it won't.
It won't happen.
So,
Okay.
Right, maybe we need another type of resolution, maybe keeping her here.
Yeah. So I'll open it up for Vice President Reese.
No, I support this
Okay,
resolution.
thank you. Commissioner
I
Dreehouse,
support the resolution as well.
thank you. I'd like to make a motion to adopt by leave four.
Second.
Commissioner Summer Dumas.
Yes,
Commissioner Reese.
Yes.
Commissioner Dreehouse.
Yes.
thank you.
Thank you, Thank you, Commissioners. My final by leave today is a little bit lengthier. This is a resolution allowing the county administrator to enter into a second amendment to the agreement between the Board of County Commissioners and the Port of Greater Cincinnati Development Authority. A little bit of background on this. I'll try to make it fairly brief, but especially for the public watching at home. Our 2021 budget allocated $2 million for the continuation of what is called the county's site readiness program. The site readiness program was started with and we've talked about this in some prior meetings as well, with the recognition that urban counties were at a competitive disadvantage to our rural counterparts in that they have relatively few large sites capable of attracting new manufacturing and large number of large employers. Where we do have sites, typically they are encumbered with environmental problems, structures, old structures or other problems. So the 2021 general fund budget allocated $2 million specifically for the acquisition and remediation of large sites in the county to create landing space for new employers and new jobs and investment. The port has approached the county with a recommendation to use these dollars to purchase, demolish, and remediate property at 7979, 8011, and 8109 Reading Road. These are areas commonly known as the Drake Hotel and the Carousel Hotel properties. This Reading Road corridor specifically has been long studied by departments like Planning and Development, HCDC, Amberley Village, Cincinnati Roselawn, Reading, et cetera. This funding would be used specifically for the acquisition and remediation and demolition of environmental issues and structures on those sites, ultimately to be repurposed for development with the target of light and advanced manufacturing. So if approved, The port will finalize a purchase agreement on the property with the seller. The port will perform due diligence on the property. They will then close and proceed with site readiness and remediation work. As included in the resolution and in the amendment, any grant funds not used would be returned to the county. And there is a section in the agreement for the port to provide quarterly project reports, an annual financial statement on the use of the dollars, a final report on the project, and of course, any additional special reports that the board would ask for. As I wrap up, I would just say that in terms of the goals of the project, again, I indicated the concept of light industry, advanced manufacturing. These typically, when we see these, we typically see them pegged at around 16 jobs an acre. So the idea would be somewhere in the neighborhood of 105 jobs with a payroll of $6.8 million, at least as a goal. So with that, I know Ms. Laura Brunner is here as well to answer any technical questions. I know provided a briefing to the board on this. Happy to answer any questions. The administration does recommend approval of the amendment, but again, open for questions and discussion.
Thank you, Jeff. That was pretty concise. I'll open it up to Vice President Reese.
Thank you, Madam President. Now that we can discuss this project publicly, I just wanted to highlight some of the questions and some of my concerns. And I do want to thank Laura from the port, because you explained a lot of things that kind of how it works, because it's a lot of moving parts. And I want to, first of all, thank the board, because when I first got elected, I think it was like, I don't know, our second meeting. And I want to thank the board because you allowed me an opportunity to hold up on the $2 million additional so that I could get more information, have a better understanding. Out of that, we came back and said, well, let's don't just do a blanket $2 million where we give the money to the port and they can go out and do whatever without having to come back to us. So we renegotiated the contract, and I want to thank the administration for that, so that when we hear about a project like this, we at least get the information up front on what it is before it actually is done. My concern has always been the gentrification, and a lot of people use that word loosely, but a lot of times we say we're cleaning up blight, or we're cleaning up because it's not safe. And what usually gets swept up in the cleanup is people who have been living there who were not involved in crime, are not a part of the blight, but can no longer afford to stay there. Now, I'm not here to say that all of that is the fault of the port, but when the port puts their sign up, then developers begin to say, oh my goodness, something's getting ready to happen. And then they begin to go up on pricing, go up on rent, go up on housing. And so we're trying to move more ahead of time in anticipation of that. And I've expressed that to Laura. I want to work anticipating that type of thing so we don't have that to occur. Now, this particular project, the old carousel and the Drake, on the surface, you say, well, yes, we want to get rid of it. It is blight. And also on the corner, the Ponderosa is also owned by the port. So you got that corner going all the way down, potential things in between, but obviously one of the bigger projects will be the Drake and the carousel. I want to thank our administrator, Jeff. I asked you to come out to Bond Hill and Roseline, and we rode around. And when you go behind the carousel, you go down the street, and even I hadn't went down it until about 2 months ago, someone had told me about down there. You got condominiums, so those people will be okay because they own the condos. But there's apartments back there as well. And when you look at them, you know, people in a time where we're trying to keep people with a roof over their head, they work every day and they're trying to survive. And I have concerns about what happens to them once we put this sign up that the port has taken this. The other thing I had concerned about is that I don't want where we're funding just to tear down. When you look in particularly African-American neighborhoods, it's a lot of tearing down because they had a lot of federal money some years ago to tear down. So we went and tore down a lot of stuff. So you go through these areas, a lot of the history and the character is gone and is sitting and waiting with real estate signs on them. And even the real estate people who are selling these properties, renting these properties, I haven't seen diversity. Even in my own neighborhood of Bond Hill and Roseline, I understand Swifton, they got something coming, but it's been sitting since 2012. It's empty. It would be unacceptable in other neighborhoods. I also indicated that I'm concerned about how are we choosing these projects? Are we riding around the communities and just saying, oh, we want to buy these things? Or are we like Reading, Ohio, which is a better project we approved a couple weeks ago? Reading invited the port in because it's a very difficult project and they are the drivers of it. And it seems sometimes when you come into the African-American community, we're not invited. We're inviting ourselves. When we go into these townships, you can't run into these townships unless you've been invited. And that to me is the model that I'd like us to see. Now, specifically to this project, we're talking about $1.5 million to acquire it. So we gave $2 million, so $1.5 million will acquire it. We're talking $75,000 to do the due diligence, whatever that is, and whoever gets paid for that. We're talking about environmental remediation, $185,000. I don't know who gets that. I don't even know if that has any diversity. And then we're talking about the demo, which the demo's been making a lot of money off of these projects of $600,000, totaling $2.36 million. So that's on one hand. Then we actually pay the port to service our land bank. Land bank is when people can't pay their taxes, and if they pay them late or whatever, there's a little fee on there, and that fee goes toward helping us with a land bank. And a land bank is money we put aside from those dollars to buy properties that are supposedly blighted, and we're gonna refix them, right? And we hire another fee, we give the Port Authority to run that. So they get a fee to run that from us. They got $2 million to buy projects. And then this project is gonna go into a land bank, right? So we give them $2 million to buy it. We then come over here and pay them to run the land bank. Then they switch the project to the land bank. And because they can do that, they don't have to pay taxes. 3CDC does and some other people, but they don't pay taxes because now it's in the land bank. And now we're going to pay, I believe this man owes $160,000 in back taxes that we're paying. So we're paying the back taxes, we paying to get the land, we're then paying a service fee to service the land bank. And to me, I just think it's triple dipping from what I would think of. And so with that, I'm trying to wrap my head around it. So I said, well, let's do like the bank would do. If you go to the bank and you get a house and you borrow money, the bank says they got to be on the deed, right? They're on the deed. They can put a lien on your house. If you go to buy a car and you get the money from the bank or the financing company, they got a lien on your car. You don't get the title until you pay it off. So I was like, well, could we do something like that so that when it's developed, this could be a good thing. I don't know, it might be. I don't know, because there's no developer mentioned on here, what it's going to be developed into. Could we put something on that to make sure that the houses behind there are protected, to make sure that the taxpayers are protected, and it's what we want to happen. And so I asked them to do that, and I got a memo back from Jeff saying the lawyer said they couldn't do it. I like to see the legal opinion myself, but you said we couldn't do it. It's not applicable. I don't know how it's not. It's how people do business every day. And so with that, Madam President, that's what makes me uncomfortable with the project. One, I don't know what's going to be developed there. Two, there is no developer who has been identified. Unlike Reading, the developer has already been identified for that project. I don't know who the developer is for this project and what they will be developing. I have no guarantee for those people that live behind there, and that's all they got. That's all they have. And I just want to make sure this could be a good project or it could go south. And so today, I'm going to ask to abstain from this today because I don't want to go no right away until we could get the reports. And if I start seeing it going in the right direction, then I'm ready to move forward. But I did want to explain that to the people who are watching, because that was something I learned in this process. And to me, it just seemed like triple dipping for me. So today I just can't support it.
Thank you. Laura, would you like to come up and address any of the items that were discussed or any comments? Laura Bruner.
Good afternoon, Madam
Good
President,
afternoon.
Commissioners. It's good to be here with you, and I thank you for your consideration of this request. And I've addressed in previous sessions, I think, some of your concerns. I understand that we're asking for trust, and I think that's what it fundamentally comes down to. Our organization exists for the sole purpose of putting real estate back to work. And we are taking properties that the private sector either cannot do because they require subsidy, or if they were to do them, might not deliver, actually would deliver the things that you're worried about that wouldn't be in the best interest of the community, either the jurisdiction it sits in or the people that live there. So we are very much committed to what we call highest and best use. And that in this case is to have manufacturing. If a private sector company bought these parcels and put self-storage there, you wouldn't have any way to prevent that. And it would not be adding jobs. It would not be adding capital investment. It wouldn't be physically improving the community. So we're very much committed to delivering on our promise. I know there isn't a developer committed yet, but I think I shared with you that we've talked to now 3 developers, 2 of whom are African-American. And to your point about the funds that we spend on demolition and remediation, we will certainly have M, W, and S companies included in that. I'm very proud of the results that we achieve in our inclusion spending. I'm very committed to increasing the ownership of real estate within the African-American community and working on that in many different fronts. And this property is one of those that will be in consideration for that. And I don't know how to specifically address your triple dipping concerns. But I think that perhaps to your maybe last comment, this will be a good example for us to demonstrate that we do deserve your trust by having you be with us, a part of this from the beginning through and seeing how we deliver. I take your kind of challenge, accept that, to share with you as we proceed with this, how it ends up being a very positive result.
Madam President?
Sure. Mhm.
What's the timeline on, because the problem is we demo stuff, and I'll just be honest, that I know other communities would not accept. So if we demo this, how long do you think it'd be sitting around before we get moving, or do you
Well,
think?
as I said, I have had conversations with developers who are interested in this now. I can't obviously commit to something, but the demo won't take very long. And we'll start the discussions of the future development really, right after we own it. I think parcels like this and this size are attractive. I understand your comments about Midpoint Crossing. We've owned it for a long time. I think that it's what we've done, though, is prove that it is good to have properties like that in the public sector, because we're being patient to have the right use to deliver what the community wants and has asked for in that site. We could have sold it, long ago if we were willing to let it be. AAA wanted it to park cars. There are other truck companies, and there are things that would have gone there a long time ago. And we said, no, this community deserves better, and we're going to hold on for that. And as I've shared with you, we've got that parcel under option and hope that we have construction starting in the spring.
What power do we have once we vote on this? Do we have any say, or is it, when you say public sector, I know you're not a nonprofit or what have you, but we say public, we talking about people that can be elected. Do we have any power? Are there, or maybe Jeff can answer this, are there any clawbacks? Government gave us clawbacks about spending the money by a certain time. Are there any clawbacks that this needs to get moving by a certain time, or we got some clawbacks? What power do we?
Yeah, I don't know that there is a date certain in here for moving forward, but there are administrative approvals of the due diligence plan and the demolition plan, et cetera, things of that nature. There are, of course, you talk about clawbacks, there are things that as I said, if there is grant money that's not utilized, that returns to the county. If the grant funding obviously is not used correctly, or if more is if it's used outside of the scope of the project, that is clawed back. That's the types of things, it's just good accounting things in the contract to make sure that if the dollars are not used appropriately, the county has clawback capabilities at that point.
Maybe not in this one, but I would like to look at, I don't want land just sitting around. I mean, that's, should have some 1 or 2 years or something, or, and then my last question is, did we ever consider housing there? I mean, we got $40 million. We're looking for housing and land, and there's housing behind it. I don't know if it should be zoned, multi-zoned, because right behind it is housing. I know you do housing, so that's.
Yes, I'm thinking about your question. No, we have not considered that. As I mentioned to you previously, we've been working with a collection of stakeholders on the Reading Road corridor for some time. That includes Bond Hill and Roselawn and Sycamore Township and Reading. And I think Evendale might be participating in that. Well, looking at that whole corridor, in this case, I'm specifically asking for it for the events manufacturing sector. That's what the community has determined thus far. I'm not saying that in that whole corridor that there won't be any additional housing. We're clearly looking at that inside the Bond Hill Business District as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Dreehouse.
Thank you, Laura, for being here and sharing that information. So the reason I like this project so much is because it expands through so many jurisdictions, through it's city, it's outside the city, it captures the interest and excitement of a bunch of communities as you go up Reading Road. And so I think with this investment, we are showing a serious commitment to that area and to those communities. And so I'm excited to see this project move forward, anticipating that there will be more to come. So that I don't have any specific questions, but I was going to ask you, my only question was to remind us of which communities are impacted. And you just listed out, I think, all of them. Could you just repeat?
The one
it?
I missed, so these properties sit in Sycamore Township and we have their support. It is just south of Reading where we own we own the Dow Chemical site. This impacts Amberley Village. And as I've mentioned previously, the attractiveness of the property we own on Section Road has been impacted by the blight that exists on this Reading Road stretch. And then Roselawn obviously is just immediately to the south. Reading, Reading is weirdly across the street too. Reading isn't just north, it's also to the east, right?
Thank you.
It is very much an intersection of multiple communities.
Thank you.
Thank you. Just a couple comments. I'm excited about this project. The jobs, as you were saying, the spurring of the economic development is such an eyesore in that area, and to get that area mobilized and just cosmetically to look even better. The due diligence part, it's our responsibility as a commission and a board to review, as you send in reports and things like that, and the processes that are taking place during this development. It really is whatever questions we have to either get from Jeff or read the data that you're sending us as far as you moving forward. So I'm just excited about the opportunity. And Laura is very well aware that other areas in Reading Road, on Reading Road that you're working on, and I'm really advocating for those areas to be picked up. And as you sound like maybe you may have some developers in that area also. So,
Madam President, I would be remiss if I didn't add this. Reverend Damon Lynch, also who has been buying properties, his organization in the area. I want to just highlight, I don't want to, because we probably hear about this. They were also looking to buy it, but it's hard to buy it if you got to assume the tax lien. Most people, when they buy a land, they've got to pay the taxes. I mean, even all these other groups, 3CDC and all of them. What makes the port unique is because you're going to put this project in our land bank, which then our land bank pays the taxes. for the individual. So the person who's selling it, they're getting off pretty clean because we're paying their taxes, I think 160,000, and we're paying them of buying the property. So I just want to say that there were people looking at this property that are vested in the community, but they weren't able to do it because they don't have a land bank. They would have to assume the $160,000 taxes. And I think that's why our Port Authority has more tools and they're able to bring some of those tools to the table. So I just wanted to add that, and I'm totally not for bad aesthetics at all. But what I want to make sure is when we clean up, we don't clean up people that just look like me. Sometimes for some reason, when we come in with a sweep, we're sweeping up people that look like me, that work every day, that aren't committing any crimes. Somehow they get swept up in the cleanup. And so I'm looking forward to working with Laura and the Port on ways in which I know she has some ideas, and we have some ideas. We can work together to try to change the way we do it, and maybe other people will use us as a model as well. So thank you.
Thank you. With no further comments, I'd like to make a motion to adopt item by leave 6.
Second.
Commissioner Summer Dumas,
Yes,
Commissioner Reese,
Abstention.
Commissioner Dreehouse.
Yes.
thank you.
Madam President, I have no further by leaves. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move forward, and we have no regular agenda items. We have several. Oh, okay. We have several consent items. And what I will do is open it up and then give a motion if there are any specific concerns about items 1 through 16. Vice President Reese.
Madam President, I don't have anything against these items. I support. I was just looking at the stack of paper. I said, man, and then I looked at it's an easy agenda. But I would ask, if you don't mind, the administrator to mention housing opportunities made equal. That's added to this, which is good. But I think it's worth noting so that people know that they are in this CDBG funding.
Yeah, Madam President, Madam Vice President, yes. So as a part of the consent agenda today, you're approving multiple nonprofit grants through Community Development Block Grant Program. Includes organizations, Madam President, you're going to walk through those, so I won't go through all of them. But I will say that Housing Opportunities Made Equal is on here. There's $750,000 worth of nonprofit grants. This $75,000 is on top of that, so it's actually $825 because Housing Opportunities Made Equal, the Hamilton County and entities receiving community development block grants have to include programming for the furtherance of fair housing and addressing discrimination in housing as well. And Housing Opportunities Made Equal is the organization that we partner with and contract with to investigate incidents of discrimination or unfair housing occurring in the community. And that is something we operate through our community development department. So yeah, happy to point that out and highlight it today.
Thank you, Jeff. I did not plan on listing all of those that received grants. I mean, if you'd like to do that, you can. I specifically asked for the $750,000 that we did distribute for CDBG was that the maximum that we could distribute, and it was. So we used every penny, and that's a great thing. So if you'd like to list them, you certainly can.
Yeah, so I'll just list these very briefly, but there is and I believe Emily Carnahan is here as well. So if the commission has any questions about the specific programming for any of these are all great institutions and great causes, but we have an agreement with $50,000 for pro seniors, $125,000 with St. Vincent de Paul Charitable Pharmacy, $125,000 for the Free Store Food Bank, $75,000 for Cincy Smiles Foundation, which I think is for some workforce development associated with that programming. $50,000 for wraparound and domestic violence programming related to women helping women. We have $75,000 for foreclosure prevention with the Legal Aid Society of Greater Cincinnati. We also have eviction prevention funding for $75,000 with the Legal Aid Society. And we have $125,000 with La Soup. and $50,000 with Pink Ribbon Girls. And I think both of those organizations and the scope of those grants focuses on food security for low-income populations, commissioners.
Thank you so much. As you can see, it's a vast diversity of entities, and some of them are very new that have not recently been given CDBG funds. So it shows that administration is trying to get the word out to let people know that there's money here for that purpose. So very good.
Madam President,
Uh-huh.
I'm sorry, if I could just
Yeah.
real quickly. Since she's here, I did just want to thank Emily. We all knew Joy Pearson left to go across the river a few weeks, maybe a month ago now. And I just wanted to thank Emily for taking the oars of the organization in community development and making sure that we stay with beat. So thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Emily. Yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
Commissioner.
I just too
Greenhouse.
wanted to comment. So I think it's like the majority of our agenda is related to partnerships with organizations in this community to help folks in need. So I just did want to highlight our ability to partner here through these federal dollars. And I'm glad to see that so many organizations will now be able to benefit those that are in need. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so you have before you for adoption items. I'd like to make a motion to adopt items 1 through 14.
Second,
Yes,
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 and we have to, a motion to receive for the record items 15 and item 16.
second,
Yes,
yes,
yes.
thank you so much. With nothing else coming before the board, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
second,
Yes,
yes,